Hello, what's going on, beautiful people? Today we are back with another episode of the Engine Room podcast, and I'm starting off because Pablo has a twisted take for us today. He says it's a very good one, so I'm going to take the reins onwards from here, and we're going to be heading right into the USA. Mr. John, ¿cómo estás?
How we doing, sirs? Excited for this week's conversation.
Now, to you, Pablo, introduce yourself and then bring on the heat.
Yeah, hello everyone. Good to be back again for another episode of the Engine Room. Shall I just get started then,
Yep.
Go
straight into it.
Right. My twisted take this week is about a Chelsea player, someone who I've wanted to speak about for a while, and he goes with the name of Trevor Chalobah. My twisted take is that Trevor Chalobah is one of the best young centre-backs in Europe. He's played 31 games as a starter for Chelsea. He hasn't lost a single one. That's included massive games as well. Not one defeat in 31 Chelsea games. Are you kidding me? Back four, back three, Tuchel, Potter, no matter the opponent, away from home, Champions League, not one game has he lost. That is an unbelievable record. And another point that I wanted to add to the take is that he should be going to the World Cup with England because England have a centre-back issue, and that Trevor Chalobah right now is one of the best performing centre-backs in the Premier League. For me, he's been unbelievable. Bringing the ball out the back, defensively, like I said, any formation. For me, he's an unbelievable player. I've been a massive fan of him for a while. I think he's been superb for Chelsea. And like I said, any circumstance he comes into the team, still hasn't lost yet. And I was worried about not doing it last week, thinking, when is the streak going to break? But it's an unbelievable record. 90 minutes, Trevor Chalobah starting for Chelsea, never lost a game. Unbelievable player.
I kind of want to add something to your twisted take. Can I? Can I have that room?
Oh my God, okay, yeah.
A twisted takeover. Let's go.
Yeah. I wanted, this is a twisted take turnover, or I don't know how we can call it.
Yeah.
But I wanted to say, I thought your twisted take was going to be about Kepa. And I want to make my twisted take about Kepa. I just came onto the scene with a new twisted take, and I got to say that I feel if it's about Chelsea, that it's time for Chelsea to make Mendy the backup and make Kepa the starter. I think Kepa has been absolutely impeccable for Chelsea, playing under Potter as well whenever Mendy has been injured. And I think that Mendy last season, I don't know about you, Pablo, what you've seen, but I think he made plenty of errors. He's sloppy with the ball. Kepa gives you a little bit of that, let's say, versatility on all fronts when it comes to a goalkeeper. And I believe that maybe he took that time to settle into the Premier League like any other player that comes from a foreign league. But since we're talking about a goalkeeper, of course, you're going to be seeing his adaptation is going to be much more vulnerable. It's going to be exposed quite a lot of the time because it's such a difficult position, right? So I believe that now after, I don't know how many years it has been, 3 years maybe with Chelsea, it's about time that I think he gets another chance because he's still very young and for a reason still is the most expensive goalkeeper in the world. Does somebody has that information on that?
I think it's either him or Alisson.
Probably, but Kepa came after Alisson, so maybe he was Kepa.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that? Do you think Kepa should be starter?
I mean, look, for me, I always thought that Mendy was the number one for me. I just feel more secure with him in goal. He's a big guy. Of course, Chelsea won the Champions League with him in goal. But I got to say, I think you make a fair point. I mean, Kepa's played every game under Potter. We can't forget. And he's been really good. I think the aspect with his feet is really good to see. He's pretty more of a modern goalkeeper than Mendy. And I got to say, I do think that Mendy made some errors last season. I still back Mendy as Chelsea's number one. But I think for now, Potter definitely sees Kepa as the number one. And I think we got to say, since Kepa's been in the team, he's been winning Chelsea games, actually. So, and he nearly made that unbelievable save for the Casemiro header on the weekend, which was inches away. So I got to say, massive credit to Kepa. And I mean, I'm really interested to see if he keeps up for the season.
Yeah, I think Kepa's taking advantage of the opportunity. New manager, new opportunity. And like you said, he started every match for him and he's performing well. So I don't see any reason why Potter would look to bench Kepa. I think he sticks with it. Speaking of new managers and new opportunities, some people aren't taking advantage of those opportunities. Let's jump over and talk about Ronaldo and Ten Hag. Ronaldo not included for the match against Chelsea. Let's get some thoughts around that situation and what kind of impact it's going to have on Ronaldo's legacy. Pablo, let's start with you, sir.
Yeah, I think the Ronaldo situation is a really interesting one, big one to talk about. I think overall Ronaldo's move to Manchester United has gone about as embarrassingly bad as it could have actually. The fairy tale that was meant to be. I mean, we know it was Ronaldo on the verges of joining Man City the summer before last one. United swept in, and Sir Alex and everyone said, don't do that, come to Man U. Ronaldo, of course, had to make that move. The aim at the time was, because Man U finished second behind City in the league, was say, well, this is a turning point that makes United champions. United that season finished sixth, no trophies, but back in the Europa League. And what Ronaldo wanted out, to be honest, look, I think he was probably Man U's best performing player last season, but I got to say, I feel that he makes the team worse around him. We're already seeing that again this season. We know Ten Hag prefers to play without Ronaldo. And I think what we're seeing again with Ronaldo this summer was quite another embarrassing moment. We know that him and Mendes were kind of desperately trying to get into any Champions League team. We're even talking likes of Marseille, Napoli, like teams that Ronaldo wouldn't ever dream of playing for, like in the rest of his career. And he was just saying, please get me in the Champions League. No one wanted him. No one wanted to take the wages or his ego in the dressing room or anything. So he's stuck at Man U. He's not starting Premier League matches. He's only playing Europa League, which he hates, and he's not even playing well in. And then he's getting dropped from big games because he's storming off down the tunnel. And I got to say, from his point of view, that's not good enough in my opinion, because a lot gets spoken about Ronaldo's attitude and his winning mentality that I always think is quite impressive. But when you're jeopardizing a team like that, it's a bit childish, isn't it? I think if another player was doing it, like a Paul Pogba or something, people would be going crazy. So for a player like Ronaldo, who kind of prides himself on being this wonderful human being and this winner and this unbelievable athlete who's just so mentally stable and so like fantastic for the team, and he's doing this, it's a bit crap in my opinion, isn't it? So I think Ten Hag made the right call. It's a big call. I just think it's an awkward situation all round. Really not good for Ronaldo's image at all. We know he should have moved before, and he wanted to. Maybe should have never gone back to Man U in the first place. And we've got to see now if he manages to force a way out in January, because I always thought that Mendes would be able to do it in the summer. He didn't. So let's see what happens in January.
Yeah, I genuinely think that the best thing for both parties is to terminate Ronaldo's contract. I really do think that that's the best way to go. If we're taking a look at what Pablo said at the start of the year, I think that Ronaldo anticipated that the club were going in a different direction that he wasn't going to be a part of. I still feel there is a player in Ronaldo. People are saying, oh, he's finished his that. No, but the thing is that he's the way that United are playing right now, it doesn't fit at all with what Ronaldo is as a player. He's an individualistic, skill-based player, someone who needs to have the team play for him. And literally, Ten Hag's methodology is completely the opposite. It's about the team. It's about the collective, about every single piece contributing to win the game. And Ronaldo just doesn't fit into that. So I feel that he understood that, he knew that, but he just wouldn't find a way out. And at this point, I think for Manchester United, it's creating more problems. And I'll tell you why. I feel that it's because if I'm a player, let's say I'm a Bruno Fernandes, let's say I'm a Jadon Sancho, who else could I be?
Rashford.
A Rashford. Yes, I'm a Rashford. And I go and say, look, we won the game. I scored 2 goals. We have an assist from Bruno Fernandes and then another assist from Jadon Sancho. 2-0, Man United beat Liverpool, whatever. And Ronaldo storms out. It's going to be the news about Ronaldo. It's going to be the news about that. And it's going to be a praise for the players that are actually winning the games. And if I'm a player, that is going to bother me a bit. I feel that there are some dressing rooms that will like that, but there are other dressing rooms that won't appreciate it. And since everything is about unity, about collective, I think that's where Ten Hag is going forwards. I think it's wrong for United to keep Ronaldo in the squad because he's just hurting more than actually benefiting them. And yes, it was unfortunate to see that. I feel that Ronaldo should have come on into the game against Spurs. In the game against Spurs, should have come on. It's just unprofessional, to say the least. I understand he doesn't want to tarnish his legacy for coming on the last few minutes, but at the end of the day, that's the role that you have currently. And I guess that we are seeing this for the very first time in his career. He's feeling that he's not the starter, he's a substitute. He's 100% a substitute. And yes, it's interesting to see how it will develop. I feel that he needs to I don't know, just terminate the contract or accept the fact that he's going to be the 12th man in the team sheet, right? That's the way to go.
What do you think, John?
Folks, we are seeing the Ronaldo that I always knew existed. He is a selfish person, okay? We're dancing around these issues. Ronaldo, you said, Pablo, wanted to go to Marseille or Marseille, whatever it is, however you want to pronounce it. Us Americans, we can't say words right. It's for the individual stats. He's not going to win a Champions League trophy with one of those clubs. He just wants to make sure that Lionel Messi doesn't get too far ahead of him for goals scored. Not even going to touch assists because he's not there. We're talking about a man who used to get mad at his teammates, a la Gareth Bale and Benzema, for scoring when they didn't pass to him. Okay, that's who we're talking about here. We're talking about a guy who slapped a phone out of a supporter's hand on his way into the tunnel because he was so frustrated. We're seeing Ronaldo completely implode, all right? Credit to him for his winning mentality, but discredit, wipes it all away because he can't handle losing. He can't handle not being the man. So Ten Hag got it right. You act like a child. You don't get to play. You go sit in timeout. When you're ready to be a big boy, like a professional footballer, and play your role, you can come back. Ten Hag did say that it's a strike, but he's going to depend on him. I think those are just words. I think Ronaldo's gone in January. I think it's best, like Buga said, for club and player to separate. But I'm not surprised by this behavior. I think the mask has been lifted. This is Ronaldo.
I want to add to that saying, like, you know what's more frustrating for Ronaldo 100%? The fact that he thought he made the right decision by moving to United, but now he realizes it was the wrong one. Like, that has to be more frustrating even, because I feel that he made a mistake and he knows he made a mistake. So that's annoying because even last season he wasn't competing, and this season they're just going to bring this new manager and you can see that he's frustrated. So that is even more frustrating. When you believe that you could have done something to change the outcome and you didn't, that's going to eat you from the inside. And I think that's what's happening for Ronaldo right now. I feel that, I don't know, but playing devil's advocate, do you think he has the right in some way to feel annoyed with United? Like, is he right to be frustrated with the way that he's been managed by Ten Hag, or no?
Feelings are one thing, but how you respond to those feelings are another. And for someone who has the CV that Ronaldo has, for somebody that should know better, I expect better from him. So it's sure he could say, whatever. I'm not going to list his gripes. I'm sure he could have some complaints that hold water. But for me, it's how you react to that. I would expect him to be a leader in the locker room. But again, it's the selfishness for me. It's the what about me mentality, and he's putting that ahead of the team.
Yeah, I got to say though, I had the feeling that Ronaldo and Ten Hag weren't going to get along too well at the start of the season. It felt like it, didn't it? And you never know, to be fair. A lot of managers just come in and they immediately, will just give in to Ronaldo's needs and just play in every game. But to play to Ten Hag, I think he knows that the team plays better without Ronaldo, and he's stuck with it. And I think Ronaldo will say, look, I'm the guy who scores for this team. I was the top scorer last season when no one else did anything, and that's what he's got. And he had the same thing at Juventus, but the team got worse with you in the team, mate. But, of course, he was still producing numbers. So it's a really difficult argument to make, actually, almost against Ronaldo. But I think United know that they've got to go on without Ronaldo now, and I think they will in the next few months.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the results. Let's talk about Chelsea United 1-1. Jorginho getting a goal from the penalty spot. Right? But who was it? Casemiro, stoppage time, drama, the late equalizer. Chelsea almost getting away with the win. And it would have been, this is a fun stat I heard, Graham Potter would have been only the second manager to beat United with two different clubs in the same season.
Whoa.
So he would have done it for Brighton and for Chelsea.
Whoa,
so he was that close to doing it. So let's talk about Graham Potter first. We talked a little bit about Ten Hag, and we can touch back on that if we want to. But let's talk about Graham Potter. How well is he doing under Chelsea? Pablo, you're cued in on the Chelsea perspective, of course. Let's jump over to you again. What are your thoughts so far under what Graham Potter's doing with Chelsea?
I feel really weird whenever I speak about anyone about Chelsea under Potter. Actually, because I want to open up to you guys as well, because I want to get some outside perspective, but. It's very early days. I think Potter is going to be a project manager, and I need to accept that as a Chelsea fan. So that's going to be different to what we usually have. My worry is that does that ever actually happen at Chelsea, or after 18 months and we don't have a title, will it all collapse and will he be sacked? That's the question mark. Are they actually going to say, no, we are actually going to build something here. We're actually going to wait a few years and let this become a bit of a dynasty. Is that actually going to happen at Chelsea? That's my concern. In terms of how Chelsea are playing and how they're doing, is it that different to how Chelsea are playing under Tuchel, by the way, is my question. It's 3-4-3 or 3-4-1-2. It's all about it's not amazing attacking football. It's not very fluid. Especially the United game wasn't fluid at all, by the way. It was awful to watch for the neutral. I feel sorry for the neutral, honestly. Nothing happened. And how good are Chelsea actually playing? We played quite well a few games against Milan, I understand. That was Champions League, which we've always been good at with this structure. Aston Villa, we won unconvincingly. Brentford, again, we look decent defensively. You know, that the defenders dig in, like Chalobah and Thiago Silva. They're still performing at a high level, and got Jorginho in midfield digging in. But in attack, we're just lackluster, aren't we? Like, how good are we actually playing? And it's early days, so I'm not going to, base is Potter a good manager off the early days. But my kind of question to you guys is, how good do you actually see Chelsea right now? Because is much changing? And do you think it almost will change under Potter over time? Because for me right now, we've kind of gone off the Tuchel foundations and he's kind of building off them. And he's made a good start. You know, we haven't lost a game yet. He has made a strong start. We're kind of back on track in the league. We're back on track in the Champions League. So fair play to Potter. But I'm just interested to see where it goes, to be honest.
Yeah, Booga and I are both making faces. Booga, you want to start off?
Look, I'm not going to come here and say I actually want Pablo to let us perhaps afterwards give us a little more context about the game between Chelsea and United, because it's Potter's biggest game so far that he's had, probably. Well, the one against the Champions League, but the red card just changed everything. Yeah. But anyhow, I wanted to mention that because I think Chelsea made the right appointment. So in a way, I do feel that project Chelsea being such a team allergic to projects and just being more about results reminded me a lot about how I'm going to make this analogy to how things work in Spain, where you have Real Madrid that's all about, it's about projects, but it's more about the results. Like it's actually the club that makes the investments about players and things like that, and the manager just needs to focus on getting those results. But Xavi, for instance, in Barcelona, or Pep Guardiola, or whoever was before them, they had the whole control. They wanted a project to be made and be looking at the youth development, looking at different things, trying to instill a way of playing. And I feel that with Potter, you kind of can get a little bit of that as well. And I really do like how you still are able to work on those foundations. And I think that's going to be something early doors that we're going to be seeing for Chelsea. Yeah. Potter is going to be working off those foundations from Thomas Tuchel, and then he's going to be trying to incorporate his different ways of playing. But in a way, he was also very similar. Playing already a 5 at the back that could turn into a 3 when he was at Brighton. So I feel it makes sense. And like I mentioned in a previous podcast, I think that Todd Bowley wants to give an image to Chelsea that they're kind of the London club, the British club. And that's precisely what I think an American owner will give to a team. American owners or American CEOs, for that reason, the way that the market works in America, it's all about that. It's all about the image. It's all about the media, how it consumes what you produce, and how's your stature and positioning within that industry. So I feel that's what Todd Bowley wants to do with Chelsea. And I feel when I close my eyes, it makes sense. I do see that. I do see like Graham Potter in front of Stamford Bridge, next to the badge. It makes sense. It's this London club that we can push forward. We have the right way of playing. Come to us. Something that, for instance, your rivals, someone like Arsenal, do have. I feel that Arsenal do have that thing when you think about London. Okay, this Arsenal North London club is all for the people who just like football, maybe the areas of London that are outside of it, in the outskirts. It makes sense. So having Chelsea be the opposite, be the core, the nucleus of that, being central London, being the team that can have you support, it makes sense. And I feel that's where Bowley's going for.
Mm-hmm. You said it. For those that are just listening to the audio, you didn't see me, but I was silently applauding what Booga was saying there in terms of the image. I think when you look at Graham Potter's history as a manager, he doesn't have international experience. You know, Booga mentioned that match against United being his biggest match probably in his career. Yeah. He just doesn't have that star power. You know, I don't think there's a lot of names right now of available managers that do have that clout, that do have that presence, but from an outside perspective, on a world scale, it doesn't put Chelsea in that elite status. But what it does do, to Booga's point, is it gets it back with those English roots. He's spent all of his time, I think, as a player in England. I'm looking at his senior career here. I think he spent his entire career in England. Most of his management time was in the UK. So I think that's what it is. It's getting back to those roots. It's bringing in somebody who's going to connect with a Chalobah, a Mason Mount, and those young English players to get back to that London identity, as Booga said. I think I really do think that's dead on.
And before Pablo, you jump in because I know you have a lot to talk about, but I'm just going to give you a little bit more of context of what I think as well. I feel Potter, we know that he had some time in Ostersons, for instance, in the Belgium.
Yeah.
I love the way, I don't know if you saw this, but in Sky Sports, there was this interview between him and the Brentford manager, Thomas Frank is his name, I think. Mm-hmm. And they had them both, I don't know if you, John, saw this, but they had them both before the game talking to each other. Before the game, the two managers talking before the game, and they managed to ask questions to each other. And Thomas Frank said, "Oh, why do you change formation so much, or whatever?" But the praise that he gave Graham Potter is the fact that he said, "I admire what you've done because you've worked your way up the ladder. You're not a manager that we're going to talk about later, like a Steven Gerrard that just has the name, bang, you go straight into it. Gerrard has done it a bit, gone to Rangers like that, but the trajectory of someone like a Potter is bigger, is way longer. And that comes with different ways of understanding football and whatnot. And I feel that if you think about what's the best way for Chelsea to compete for a Manchester City later down the road, this could be a twisted take in its own sense, but I feel it could be creating a project with someone like Potter. Like maybe not now, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not the next season, but you're taking a look at what Manchester City has done. Manchester City, Pep Guardiola leaves, and Manchester City is going to stay. Manchester City is going to stay in the coup of elite European teams, and I think people forget that. I feel people say, oh, they don't have the Champions League, but Pep Guardiola was brought in more to create that. See, they're now top 2, top 1 team in the world, and they're going to stay there. They're going to stay there with the Real Madrid, Barcelona's, and Chelsea, sometimes they're up there, they're down, but they're not always constantly up there. And I feel that creating a project, building Chelsea to be something, could start with Potter.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it's Chelsea's best shot at a project, and I think it's what we've got to go for. I think obviously what Chelsea have got to do is stick by him, and I think Potter's a good man to do that. He strikes me as a very calm character, certainly calmer than Thomas Tuchel, but it'll all be down to that communication between Potter, the board, and also the players, because I think that there's a culture at Chelsea where the players are quite happy to not turn on a manager. I don't think Chelsea turn on the manager, I got to say, but people start getting pissed off and irritated. You know that. And I know there are a lot of players who were like that with Tuchel towards the end, and I think Potter, he's a very calm guy and very down to earth. He speaks a lot about the person. I think it was a degree he took on human psychology or something like that. It was very interesting. He's very. I know Potter's very focused on actually understanding footballers as people, and he's massive on that. I know he is, and that's something that's quite new in the game actually that I quite like, and I think that will help him stick around quite a lot. So he comes across to me as that sort of character. I'm just wondering, as Mr. Chelsea, are we going to stray too far away from that being obsessed with winning titles route? I don't want us to turn into a mediocre club who are happy for this project where everyone's happy and holding hands, but we're just getting top 4 every season and nothing else.
I don't want to be Arsenal.
Yeah, I've got no appetite to be Arsenal with you, to be honest. You know, ultimately, you know, we're the pride of London, and we want more titles. You know, we don't just want to be, you know, pissing them out in top 4 and getting to the semi-finals of competitions and saying what a great season. I just don't want us to stray that far. I don't think we will, because I think the culture of the club is there, but that's where I like Thomas Tuchel and other managers. And I'm not saying Potter is this, but I'm just hoping he doesn't go down that path just because he comes across as quite a calm character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. So limited patience, we're hearing from Pablo's perspective. Give him a little bit of time, but limited patience on the Chelsea end.
I've got to be better, John. I've got to be better with patience.
No, you're good. You're good. Speaking of limited patience, a guy who ran out, or a club who ran out, I should say, Gerrard, gone from Aston Villa. And then Villa win 4-0. What's the takeaway from that?
Pablo, you start. You're the British resident.
Well, right decision, I think, actually. People often say it's not the right decision to sack coaches, but I think sometimes a lot of the time it is, actually. I think it can switch, and whether that is the player's fault or not is another matter. But Villa already won 4-0 on the weekend, as we saw, and they've got some really, really quality players. Aston Villa, they shouldn't be near the relegation zone, in my opinion. Some really, not just good footballers, but, you know, technical players as well. Players who are really comfortable on the ball, who can play attacking football. I'm thinking about the likes of Douglas Luiz. So Villa should be nowhere near the relegation zone. Gerrard, I mean, he won the league in Scotland with Rangers, didn't he? So he looked like a good up-and-coming manager, in my opinion. And when he first came to Villa, he looked like he was doing well, but no, it hasn't worked out. And I think that the worry for him now is where is his next job? Similar to when Lampard left Chelsea, but what Lampard had is that he'd got Chelsea into the Champions League. He'd reached an FA Cup final with the youth guys, and people kind of saw, okay, there's something good here. Obviously, Gerrard has that title with Rangers, so I think he will get another job. But what Premier League club now is going to want to snatch him up and say, yeah, we really liked what he did at Aston Villa, because that won't really add up. But for Villa, I think it's the right call. They've got to get out towards the top of the table. And I'm actually interested to see who they bring in. Maybe they go for someone like Lopetegui again, who I know Wolves tried to go for and couldn't get. And now Wolves are going to stuck with another coach, which is another big issue, by the way. But yeah, Villa weren't doing well enough, and right call, I think, to sack Gerrard. Right call.
Yep. I feel for Gerrard. I always thought Villa, like the way they handle business is very good. Very good. I will never forget when they sold Jack Grealish, and was it the owner that came out and just did a video explaining why they sold him. And I love that. I love that transparency, that clarity between the club and the fans. And I guess that if they made this decision, it's because they thought it was the right one. So if I'm a Villa fan, I would be a little calm, collected, because I know that they wouldn't have sacked Gerrard if they don't have someone in that they kind of want to bring in. I think that is the only reason that if I was a Villa fan, I would be calm and I would understand this and see where they would go. But like you said, I think they had players that he just didn't incorporate. He died on the stone of bringing someone like Coutinho. He brought in Buendia, but those two don't work together. Then Leon Bailey was injured, but whenever he was fit, he didn't play. So it feels that, yes, Aston Villa needed a change, and I feel that Gerrard leaving was the way to go. And you can just see like a 4-0 win. Sometimes it is the right decision. I mean, it could be just a new manager impact, although there's no manager yet. But we have to wait and see, right? So where could his next job be? What do you think about that, John?
I think he takes some time off, because I think Gerrard, Lampard, I think maybe Andrea Pirlo also experienced this, maybe got into managing at a top level a little bit too early, that they're still a little bit too attached to their playing days. And perhaps it's the way that they communicate, perhaps it's the expectations, perhaps their brand of football is a little bit outdated. There's something going on there, because I am seeing that trend in managers of that era right now. So if I'm Steven Gerrard, I'm taking a step back. I'm going to a league like a Scottish Premier League, something on that level. Maybe I drop down to second division in England, something like that. I don't think I'm staying in the English Premier League. None of the other top nations make sense. Can you see him going to like Italy or France or something? I can't even imagine that, right? Steven Gerrard is going to stay, I think, in England, so or Scotland, somewhere in the UK, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think some time off, a step down, something with not as big of a spotlight would probably make sense for Gerrard.
Yeah, I do feel that, like you said, like Pirlo, like Lampard, and probably it's more due, maybe the brand of football, but people forget that as a manager, as a leader, you need to work on all those things. Communication, you need to work on the way that you approach the players, the way that you sell your ideas. So that's potentially an area that I feel these young managers kind of need to work more on. I think Lampard is the best of that group of managers. What was good for him is that he had players he already knew, or he had players he could connect with. He was that Chelsea man. It worked. And now he's at Everton and he's doing good. Like, I just wanted to give a little bit of praise now for Everton. They turned it around a bit. They look solid. They are playing the way that Lampard wants them to. And he's been able to adapt for the early start of the season without Dominic Calvert-Lewin. So it's working. It's working. And you just need patience. But you need to also be at the right club for that patience. I thought Aston Villa was going to be there for Gerrard. Aston Villa had other plans. Aston Villa just wanted to compete way higher up the table. Yeah. And I feel that those two things just didn't match. And Aston Villa need to look for another project now, because Gerrard is not it.
Yeah. Let's keep things moving. Keeping with the English Premier League, there were some big results. Liverpool losing to Nottingham Forest. Arsenal drawing. Tottenham with a big loss to Newcastle, who are now in the top 4. Are we going to have a title race this year, folks? Pablo, we'll start with you, sir.
Yeah, well, we got to see, haven't we? I'm weirdly inclined to say no, actually. Liverpool looked like they were slowly coming back, but they've done some massive defeat for them after what I thought was a turning week for them, actually. I thought Liverpool were kind of going to get back to Liverpool ways. I don't think they were going to win the league, actually, or even compete for it, but just get back to it, you know. And And that's a big defeat. I mean, they just don't look up for it right now, Liverpool. And they've got a lot of injuries as well, by the way, to be fair to them, which sometimes isn't talked about. And it's fair to say they have got a lot of players missing, but they don't look up for it, Liverpool. It's really, they're not the same team at all. And that was made evident again by the loss to Forest, who've been really struggling as well. Newcastle beating Spurs is a big result. I think Spurs have got a massive issue, by the way, because they were looking at this kind of, big season with Conte, all these signings, all this money, and every time they play a big game, they crumble. They were absolutely awful against Man United midweek, like so bad. And sometimes I watch Conte teams set up and you think, what is the point of playing if you don't want to even try and attack? You've got Kane and Son and you're not even giving them the ball or the chance to go past the halfway line. It's really like, why are you doing that, man? And it's Tottenham in big games, it's so poor. It's really, really bad. And that's got to be a big worry for them right now and their fans, I got to say, because I still think they'll just get top 4 maybe, but they are really poor in big games. And Newcastle, by the way, unbelievable. Eddie Howe, how well are they doing so early on? Is really incredible. And in terms of Arsenal, in terms of the title race, can they challenge City? I know City got another big win on the weekend. I think City will win the league. I've said that for a few weeks. But I got to say, I think Arsenal will be up there. The draw to Southampton doesn't make me think they're just gone. Sorry. I just think it was a bit of a bump in the road. But I actually think Arsenal will be up there. Their results are quite consistent. They are playing a lot better football this season, and I think they're going to have a strong season. I just don't think they're going to win the league over Man City.
Yep. I feel that more than a title race, it could be the race for top 4 is really open. Really, really open. I'm nervous for Liverpool. I don't know what's going on really against Nottingham Forest. How could they manage to lose to the bottom place team in the table? Damn. I just feel that they're off it. They're off the mark currently. They're really off the mark. I thought that win against City would bring them back, but I guess those derbies, those sort of classic games do really have a certain anomaly kind of spice to it. It's just something that you cannot really replicate. So, yeah, I'm worried for Liverpool in terms of Arsenal. Like Pablo said, I think it's just a bump on the road. Really, when we take a look at Arsenal, I feel they're still doing things well. It's when they're going to get injuries, if they get injuries, that I do feel that they could maybe slow down. And I think that's where we're going to be seeing Arteta at the hottest moment, maybe when he's going to be getting the most pressure. So I want to see how that works now. In terms of Spurs, I do agree with Pablo. I feel that Conte, I do like Conte as a manager. I feel he's one of the best managers out there because I think he's a winner. But when I take a look at this Spurs team, if I'm Conte, how can he feel that this team is like it's built to win the title? I don't think that. I think the defense is horrible. I think the midfield as well. I feel that they need better players. And that's, I guess, one thing you can blame on Conte for not picking the right ones. But, I mean, yeah, it's annoying for Spurs. If you're a Spurs fan, I always think that, honestly, they should have let Mourinho play that final. I don't know if you remember. I still believe that Mourinho could have made, if he wanted, Spurs would be a completely different club nowadays.
Imagine if Spurs won a trophy. Yeah.
Exactly. And in terms of City, I just feel they're the strongest team out there, of course. Yeah. We have to wait and see whether they go for the Champions League. And even if they go for the Champions League, they have the squad to do it. So, title race. Maybe we should do like top 4 predictions, because I think that could be interesting, because maybe we pick different clubs. And of course, you also mentioned, I forgot, Newcastle. Yes, Newcastle are doing pretty good. And the thing I like about Newcastle is that they're building in the right way. They're not going like a Manchester City, like they did at the start. They just bang, they went to buy every single player that they could. No, they're kind of skipping that era, and they're going, when Pep Guardiola just arrived, they're identifying the areas of their pitch that need improvement, and we're going to spend big in those areas. And we're just going for the players that could just fit into our team, like a Trippier, bang, you can be a captain. A Bruno Guimaraes, you don't have to be a world-class beater to play in our team then. Dan Burn, good player in the Premier League, you just get him in. Players that will improve their squad that they are now, but not to the point where the expectations are to win the league. So slowly but surely they're improving, and I could see Newcastle being a good, powerful team in the Premier League sooner rather than later.
Yeah, there's definitely arguments to be made for the top 4. I think any conversation around a title race, that's an illusion. Manchester City, if you look at it like a marathon, it's only close because it's still early in the race. Man City are going to pull ahead. It's a little bit weird that we're going to have a long break with the World Cup, because typically I would say if the schedule was going forward as it regularly does, by Christmas, we're not talking about anybody else potentially being in the title race. So I think World Cup break happens. We come back. A few weeks go by, and then Man City are basically just gifted the title. I think that happens. Outside of that, it's wide open. And that's where the English Premier League is a very fun league to watch. There's going to be a lot of competition. There's going to be a lot of up and down between Tottenham, Newcastle, Chelsea, United, even Liverpool. None of them are going to be consistent enough for me to confidently say this is going to be the top 4. But that's why we tune in. That's why it's fun to watch. I'll say this, maybe a late twisted take. Manchester City are actually bad for the Premier League. If it wasn't for Manchester City being such a juggernaut, then all of a sudden we have 4 or 5 teams going for the title. How many years have been honestly spoiled because Manchester City just pulled too far ahead? You know,
the Farmers League is the Premier League.
They do walk all over it, I have to say. And it's funny to look back on, actually, because do you remember when Pep first came in and people were wondering if he could do it, and he absolutely stormed it. I know with a lot of money and I know with a lot of funds, but he walks over the Premier League.
Yeah, and I don't get the argument that people go like, oh, is that here in the Premier League any team can beat any team? In any league, any team can beat any team. Like you see little teams beating top teams in the Mönchengladbach destroying in Bayern Munich. Then you have Union Berlin beating Dortmund. You can't see that happen. League On as well. PSG will draw to Nantes. It happens. So I don't get that argument. I guess it happens more frequently because the teams, in terms of quality, are more closer together. But yeah, in terms of top 4, when I look at it, I think City, like you say, John, storm it after the World Cup. But even though I think we're giving it for granted that that's going to happen, but we've never in the history of the sport seen a World Cup halfway through the season. So we do not know how it's going to impact the players.
It's going to be so interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. I feel a lot of players in the World Cup, many will get injured. I feel some will get injured, 100%. And since in the World Cup you give everything for your nation, you just run that extra mile, maybe those players coming back are going to get injured. And Manchester City has a lot of players going to the World Cup. So let's see how it works out. I think City still top if I'm going based that the World Cup doesn't impact that much. Then Arsenal. Then I think United.
Oof,
I think United.
That's a massive call.
Yeah, I think United because
Pablo had to adjust himself after that.
Yeah. He had to went from this leading back to
I can see it, but
I see it because look, if they get rid of Ronaldo, they find a replacement here and there. I don't mean a storm beater, but Ten Hag, I think, has the right tools in place to make a team that wins. And I like that. And I also feel Chelsea. I actually said Tottenham before, but now maybe Chelsea's creeping up as well. Newcastle has the best form I'm seeing here, apart from Arsenal.
And Newcastle are going to make signings in January. Keep that in mind. They're queued up to spend money. They're showing right now to any potential candidates to come in that, hey, we got something going here. There's proof in this project. You know.
Yeah. I don't know. It's too early to say.
It's so difficult. It changes all the time because a few weeks ago, for me, it would have been impossible to leave Tottenham out. And then obviously you see them in big games and you think these guys are useless. And you think Chelsea and sorry, they are. I'm sorry. When I watched Tottenham, I've got to repeat it because what are they doing with Kane and Son in big games playing that negatively? I remember watching them against Man U, like, come on, show a bit of pride, play a bit. And they just cave in. It's so poor. And they do that too many games for me. But, God, it's going to be difficult. I think Arsenal and City will be up there for sure. And then it's a scrap. I think Liverpool could miss out, though, to be fair. So then it's between Tottenham, Chelsea and Man U. And maybe it'll be Man U to miss out. Maybe it'll be all 3 from London for once. It's usually only us, the pride of London, by the way.
You're right. I think Liverpool will miss out. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Everything's got a maybe attached to it right now. Yeah, there's like we said, a lot of football left to be played in the English Premier League, so that's going to be a fun one to keep discussing week in and week out. Let's jump over to La Liga then. Barcelona and Real keeping up with winning ways. Let's start with Real Madrid. 3-1 win over struggling Sevilla. My goodness. Is this Real Madrid being good or Sevilla being bad? What are our thoughts, folks?
You go, John. You haven't talked in a while.
Oh, my thoughts. Sevilla are garbage right now. I think this was a case of I think we spoke before. Sevilla's squad right now just doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
where they're going as a club just doesn't make sense. Losing Koundé and Diego Carlos in the same summer, people are just overlooking that right now. Barcelona were without Koundé for 3 weeks, and when we saw the effects, Sevilla right now lost him and Diego Carlos. So I think that's just going a bit under the radar. So outside of Sevilla's woes, Real Madrid are just good. They know how to win. We've talked about this. It's just we're beating a dead horse now. Real Madrid, despite not being super impressive throughout the match, even when it's not the prettiest football, they find a way to win. And then on top of that, they'll also have matches where it's completely beautiful to watch. And I hate even saying that, but someone else talk.
Praise quickly to Valverde. I think Valverde still. Remember when we made that lineup of the best players in the currently.
You mean Fede, yeah? Because we'll be getting on to Ernesto in a minute. Eh?
No. I mean Fede, Federico, el pajarito. Not Ernesto Valverde. But yes, I feel Federico Valverde is playing really good for Real Madrid, one of the best midfielders right now. Is there any midfielder out there better than him right now? It's really hard to say. And can you really consider him a midfielder? Because he's doing everything, really. He just takes the right-hand side and does what he wants. And for Sevilla, yeah, I mean, was Sampaoli the right appointment? I don't know. Maybe because they just have a few Argentinians there, Lamela, Montiel, Acuña, but Papu, of course. But yes, I feel that Real Madrid, we all know what they do good, and kudos to them. It's going to be a hard title race. Because Real Madrid is not slowing down. It's not slowing down.
Yeah. I got to say, I think this is what we said last week, and probably why everyone still feels really pessimistic about Barca right now. When you lose the Clásico, if you give Real Madrid the lead back, it's going to be difficult to get it back off them, because if they're really a game, they don't drop points. It was an absolute miracle. They dropped points against Osasuna that time. The penalty, the red card. We were all watching it like it's just like a parallel universe or something, like, because it doesn't really happen. So it's going to be so difficult. I mean, Sevilla, I actually think Sampaoli was the right appointment. I really like Lopetegui as a coach. I really rate him, but I think the players were done, and I feel sorry for him because I don't think the squad is quite good enough this season. But I watched a bit of the Sevilla game when it was 1-1, and Sevilla, they seem to be fighting quite a lot, which is quite a trademark of a lot of clubs in Spain. They fight a lot. Like Sevilla and Valencia, even when they're struggling in the big games, they really put in their all. So I saw Sevilla fighting, and I think Sampaoli is a decent appointment for them. So I think that's okay for Sevilla, and that will help them get a bit more back on track. But for Real Madrid, too good, too imperious, and really worrying actually for Barcelona, because we know we want to be winning La Liga this season, almost as number one objective, and no Champions League. If it's no La Liga either, that's rough. That's really rough.
Yeah, I want to be patient. It's a long season. If Barcelona are knocked out of European competition and Real Madrid stay in it, that's in our favor in terms of the La Liga results. But ultimately, I think because of Atletico Madrid, Valencia, Villarreal all struggling this year, I think La Liga is going to be decided on March 19th, 2023, when Barcelona host Real Madrid in the Camp Nou. I think that's our one and only opportunity to get the victory, pull ahead on goal differential, and then outside of that, both teams could maybe go undefeated the rest of the season. I know that would be pretty phenomenal, but I don't see anybody else. Listen, it'll happen. We don't see it coming, right? I'm going to stop myself. We never see it coming. Someone like a Osasuna, a Mallorca, a somebody will trip up both clubs.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yeah.
But ultimately, I think Real Madrid and Barcelona decide things at the Camp Nou on March 19th.
Yeah. No, it's a good point to make, because both teams have been so consistent outside of the Clásico, actually. So we've drawn one to Rayo on match day one. They drew one to Osasuna there. And then other than that, of course, it was the Clásico. So you're right. They could be even more important than usual, especially because La Liga is done on head-to-head. So Real right now in such a good position, in my opinion. And that's why the Clásico was almost a bigger than defeat than maybe we made it out to be, because it was so earlier on in the season. But both teams are really consistent right now.
I feel Barcelona just due a penalty.
That's all Buga's thinking about at night.
They are due a penalty. Like, one game, we are due a penalty. And when that penalty comes, That could be the difference between the
when that penalty comes, we're going to miss it.
Yeah, I think we're still paying a penance for the Chelsea match back in 2009. Sorry, Pablo.
That's a very long sentence.
I'm just saying, gotta be honest about that.
Yeah.
So let's stick with Barcelona a little bit. We are seeing some great results from Dembele. Right now, I'll drop a stat on you. He's got 15 assists, which is only fewer than Lionel Messi with 19 and KDB with 16. So the question for the chat, Buga, we'll start with you, is Ousmane Dembele considered world class? What do you think?
Wait, before that, who comes after Dembele? Do you have that?
Who comes after Dembele? Oh, well, now
look it up. Look it up.
Hey, producer, pull up those stats real quick.
We don't have that sort of information, Bulga.
We need a tactical person here. That's
our next hire.
Yeah, that's a next hire. Okay, so yes, I put this question on the script, guys, because for me, dude, it's so annoying. I don't know about you, but I feel I have a connection with Dembele, and I'll explain to you why. A personal relationship, because whenever I feel I'm up, he's down. Whenever I go into crisis, whenever I'm struggling, I'm super anxious and whatnot, and I just had hard times, Dembele was injured. Dembele was, oh no, he's playing to my PlayStation. And whenever he's good, I'm good as well. So I do feel we're connected in some way. That's the way I feel. And I feel I'm better than ever. So Dembele has to be better than ever as well. And I feel that it's really good. It comes down to that decision making that Xavi is trying to teach him. And of course, people want to see, okay, this is something that we want to see on a consistent basis. But on a consistent basis, you don't see any player being directly contributed to the 4 goals. That's different. And having 2 assists, 2 goals in a game or scoring is not that like only some few players can do that. Only the elite of the elite, the world-class players can do that. So I do feel that he's been underappreciated. When we talk about wingers, Dembele for me is better than Sané, than Gnabry, than Coman, better than Richard Mahrez, better players like that, players that people will identify already like being top. And it's just the injuries that still kind of draw Dembele down, that push him back to reality or make people think, okay, he's not good enough, that I feel are holding him back. As soon as people already start to see that he's a different player and that, I don't know, that doubt that maybe he'll get injured, as soon as that changes, I feel that people should see the recognition on Dembele, because realistically, the output that he's putting out is incredible. It really, really is. And people say, oh, we want to see it in big games, but in big games, you want to see every player perform. So I don't really get that argument.
No, but Bulga, you know what I'm going to be doing now? Before every big Barca game, I'm going to be sending you a message in the morning and saying, how are you feeling, man? Because then we know, is Dembele going to be on form? But no, I mean, I gotta say, I give a lot of credit to Xavi on the Dembele front, because he really has been his biggest fan from day one, through the whistles, through everything. He's stuck by him, and I gotta say, he's done well. And he's turning into a really, really, really good winger. Just always the same things that everyone says about Dembele, but it has to be said, is that some games you watch him and you just think, what are you doing? Like, it's just like he's playing with like 2 left feet, which, well, is quite ironic because we know that Dembele doesn't really have a preferred foot. But do you know what I mean? Where he just looks a bit unfocused and a bit out of it. You're thinking, just get with it, man. Like, come on. Even if, like, because some players obviously play worse in other games, but you still feel that it's the same player. With Dembele, it can often just be so high and then so low, and he's got to start changing that. I think he has changed that more under Xavi, by the way. I don't think it's so dramatic, but sometimes that problem is still there. But we got to say, he's a real, real asset. And I think when you don't cover your left-hand side, like Athletic Club, by the way, I thought did really badly. Maybe the worst setup we've seen against Dembele so far, which for Valverde, who I rate so highly tactically, I was just like, what are they doing? When are they going to change this? Because he had far too much space against
and he has managed Dembele.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and he was going on about how special he is in the press conference. Why didn't you put someone on him then, mate? But yeah, I mean, like that, you're asking for trouble there. When Dembele is in that sort of form, he's really one of the most dangerous players in European football. So if he can keep that up, which he has been doing a lot more under Xavi, it's really fun to watch.
Yeah, you said a few good things there, Pablo. Let me say this first, because I have mixed feelings about it. There's a saying, I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. There's lies, damn lies, and statistics. You guys ever heard that one before?
No.
I feel like I might have.
It means the first two parts pretty self-explanatory. There's lies, there's damn lies, and then statistics, meaning you can paint a lot of different narratives when you start pulling data. So while Dembele is racking up assists, and I appreciate that, the consistency needs to be there. So everything that Pablo said, I think he phrased perfectly. So I'm just going to echo that. Mm-hmm. But I will then turn optimistically, and I'll say this. Another thing that I say a lot is that expectations, or disappointment rather, right? Disappointment comes when expectations are not in alignment with reality. Mm-hmm. So I think what we've seen over the last year with Dembele under Xavi is that Dembele is not going to be the goal scorer. He's not going to be the Mbappe. He's not going to be the Messi. He's not going to be the Mo Salah type of forward. But he's going to provide the assists. If we start comparing him under those parameters, all of a sudden it's a different perspective of Dembele. So I'm going to start turning more towards that focus, not what are you giving me in terms of putting it in the back of the net, despite getting his first headed goal for Barcelona just over the weekend against Athletic Club. I think let's start judging him by, is he setting up, is he creating opportunities for others? And then I think the yardstick for Dembele becomes a lot more accurate.
Definitely.
I like that. I like that a lot.
All right. One more talking point around Barcelona. Lewandowski. What's going to be his legacy at the club? BUGA, we'll go back to you on this one.
I was looking at it because actually, when I was watching the game, there was a stat saying that Lewandowski is the only player to score 11 goals in 11 appearances since Ronaldo, like the Fato Ronaldo.
The real Ronaldo.
The real Ronaldo. So it's like
the original.
So it's like a while. And I do think that some, maybe not us. Like, I'm going to be honest. I don't realize personally just yet what big of a, or like what a player Barcelona actually has in the squad. I feel I don't realize that yet. Like when you take a look at how media outlets of different places around the world internationally cover Lewandowski, for them it's like 100% certain, okay, this guy's like up there, the best striker in the world. But I just feel that personally, for some reason, I still don't feel that yet. And it's like I give it for granted that he's going to be scoring those goals. But I guess that at the end of the day, I'll just look at the tally, I'll really look at how amazing of an athlete he is. And I think that's the word. I think Barcelona were lacking that, an athlete, a top elite, serious athlete. And not only about that, but he doesn't only score goals. The way that he plays, the way that he can command the team, the way that he has this presence around the box and can be able to thread those balls in and around players, it's good. It's really good. He's talented. Lewandowski is having fun. And with the Adonis body that he has, he's going to be able to play for at least like 5 more years.
What are your thoughts, Pablo?
Yeah, I got to say, I mean, Lewandowski's been more than even we expected. I think even in our happiest thoughts about how good Lewandowski was going to be, I think he's exceeded it. He's been unbelievable, actually. Professional athlete, like BUGA was saying. The goals he's scored, he's reached the numbers that he was doing at Bayern. I mean, he's been brilliant. I think you're right, BUGA. I think maybe it's just because he's a goal scorer. And, you know, like maybe when we think about the best players in the world, we start thinking of people who, you know, come from the left, they beat a few players and they whip it into the corner. But we are talking about one of the best players in the world, maybe, you know, the best player in the world on form, really, because he's a joke of a player. He's really, really good to watch. And he's been unbelievable for Barcelona. Like I said, kind of with everything, we're probably feeling a little more damp about things because of the Champions League and whatnot. But even in that Inter game, he did everything to claw us back in. Some of the goals that header is an outrageous goal, unbelievable header. That, and he is a class player. I think it'll be good to remember him. And we were all lucky to watch. For me, the best striker I've ever seen, Luis Suarez at Barca for so many years. But Lewandowski is, he'll go up there. He's special. He's good.
Yeah, 100%. I actually want to see. Go, John, with your take. I'm looking at some stats, some lines.
Yeah, he's incredibly impressive. I love watching him play. He puts a smile on my face. Prolific goal scorer. When we're talking about legacy, though, something that we talked about earlier, some of that comes down to the marketing. Some of that is up to the club. let me ask you all this. How often is the name Thierry Henry mentioned around Barcelona?
Yeah.
No, that
You're right.
Unfortunately, that's where Lewandowski's headed.
I think you're right.
Amazing to watch. You can't take anything away from the performance, but because he didn't come from La Masia, because he didn't spend the prime of his career at Barcelona, it's going to be a Thierry Henry situation. He'll always be remembered for his time at Munich.
Yeah, it's like Henry with Arsenal. Yeah, good, very good analogy. Actually, he's like when we brought Henry in those seasons. He's like what Henry was for Barcelona, and now he will be Xavi's Henry.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's wrap up this episode with some quick fire UCL predictions, folks. First, let me just go ahead and acknowledge how my twisted take blew up in my face. Less than 24 hours, all the English Premier League clubs were like, oh, you think we're out? Okay, John. Okay, we'll show you. So let me wipe the egg off of my face, and then let's get into some predictions for UCL. How do you want to do it? We want to go group by group here and pick who's going through?
Yeah, should we go group by group and say what two teams are going through each year?
Yep.
All right. Group A, we got Napoli with 12 points. They're already through. Liverpool with 9. Ajax with 3. Rangers with 0.
Duh, Rangers. No, it's Napoli. Napoli are the best team in Europe right now. That's another twisted take. This episode is full of twisted takes.
Undefeated in all
Undefeated.
competitions.
Yeah.
Wild.
Napoli first, Liverpool second.
Pablo, any disagreeing?
Yeah. No, for sure. Napoli first. There's Liverpool Ajax this week, isn't it? But I think Liverpool is through.
Whatever. I might as well double down. Napoli, Ajax. Group B.
What? Dude.
Live by the sword, die by the sword, my friends.
I love that.
Wow.
Group B, we got Club Brugge with 10 points. We got Porto with 6. We got Atletico Madrid, with 4, and Leverkusen with 3. Club Brugge is through. So Porto, Atletico Madrid, Leverkusen. Who's going through? Pablo, this one's starting with you.
I'm going to be. This is quite outrageous, actually. I don't know if you guys will think it is. I'm going to go for Atletico Madrid. I think they're going to go through.
I'm looking at their
agree with
games.
that.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I just feel like I feel like they're going to pull it off. They're going to do what they need to do.
Oh yeah, Cholo.
They have Leverkusen next.
They'll scramble.
They have Leverkusen next, so 3 points go to 7. But Porto also face Club Brugge.
Yeah, and Bruges
away from home.
Yeah.
Yes, so you know what? It all comes down to that game in Porto. And I'm gonna say Porto. I'm gonna say Club Brugge first and Porto second.
Okay, all right, mark it down. I'm gonna try not to cry. Group C, we got Bayern through on 12 points. We got Inter on 7. We got Barcelona with 4. And we got Victoria Pilsen with 0. Who's going through, guys?
I think Inter Milan are going through. Someone had to say it.
Look. Inter are so going through, but
yeah.
Where is the game for Victoria Pilsen against Inter? Is it in Slavia or I don't know where?
It is away to Inter. It is in the San Siro.
Forget about.
I didn't realize. I thought it was away. Okay, well,
yeah.
I mean,
if it was away,
I already knew we were out, but now we are out.
Yeah. If it was away, I could have seen a potential upset, but no. Bayern, Inter are going through.
Yeah.
How often does a club get 0 points in the group stage? Like goose egg 0. Does it happen often? That would be a fun stat. Maybe some listener can pull that up. I can't. I want to be the guy that says that Pilsen are going to get a point, and then even a second draw for Inter against Bayern and Barcelona get through. But I don't see it happening, folks. I'm going Bayern and Inter, unfortunately. On to Group D. We'll keep things moving here.
Wait, quickly. I found your stat.
Oh,
Teams with 0 points.
The stat, man. What do we got?
Dinamo Zagreb, Fenerbahce, Marseille, Maccabi Haifa, Rapid Wien, Anderlecht, Dinamo Kiev, Partizan. It happens. It happens.
It happens all the time. Okay, all right. I was hoping there's gonna be some crazy stat like no, only like 1% of teams have ever gotten 0 point, but no. All right, hopes and dreams. Crash, gone. On to Group D then. This one's a tight one. We got Tottenham on 7 points. I keep saying it wrong. Marseille.
Marseille.
I'll get it right eventually.
Marseille.
Tottenham on 7. Marseille on 6. Sporting on 6. Eintracht Frankfurt on 4. This one's wide open. Who's going through?
God, is anyone else really... This is such a stab in the dark. I'm just going to go Tottenham and Sporting. I don't have a clue. I've had a look at the fixtures, and it's anyone's game, no?
Yeah. I think is Marseille. Oh my God! The thing is that the games are like away from home. So Sporting are away at Tottenham. Marseille, who could win, are away at Frankfurt. Honestly, Frankfurt could make it.
Yeah.
Because Frankfurt are playing away against Sporting and at home against Marseille.
Yeah, they honestly could. You just got to
I'm gonna go Tottenham and track Frankfurt.
Yeah, that's what I got too. I got Frankfurt going from the bottom in these next couple of matches and squeaking their way through. Group E, another tight one. Chelsea on 7, Salzburg on 6, Milan on 4, Dynamo Zagreb on 4.
Massive games tomorrow. You got to say, huge games tomorrow. I am going to do the generic thing though, but this could be. I'm going to go for Chelsea and Milan. But let's see. It's Salzburg Chelsea tomorrow. That's a massive game.
Is it away?
BUGA?
Yeah, it's in Austria,
yes. Look, I think Chelsea are through because their last game is against
Zagreb at the bridge.
Zagreb at home, so that will secure them the victory. I think Chelsea, Milan. I think Milan will make it. I think Milan can get a result in Croatia.
Yeah. I think this is big for Potter. A lot of the talking points that we brought up earlier are bubbling back in, that he doesn't have a lot of experience in big European stages, but I think he has the trust of the club, and I think he knows how to win, not ugly, but when it's not the beautiful game, right? He knows how to win a 1-0 in a straightforward Route 1 football. So I'm going to trust in Potter. I'm going to go Chelsea, and I'm going to say I'll go Milan as well. Almost want to go upset with Salzburg, but I'll go Milan as well. Group F is a little bit more spread out, but we still have some competition there. Real Madrid on 10 points, Red Bulls Leipzig on 6, Shakhtar Donetsk on 5, and Celtic on 1. So we're really looking at, is it going to be Leipzig or Shakhtar joining Real Madrid going through?
Leipzig.
I'm going to go Leipzig. I was so close to going Shakhtar just because Shakhtar don't have to play Real Madrid and Leipzig do. But I think Real are going to rotate a bit.
Oh, you're right. But even with the rotations, Real Madrid are going to find a way to win. They're going to find it. So I'm going Shakhtar.
Yeah.
All vibes. Going Shakhtar on that one. Group G, we got 2 left here. Group G, we got Man City. Oh, wait, is this one already done? Man City and Dortmund are already through, right?
Not officially. But
because Sevilla and Copenhagen, they could catch Dortmund. Yeah. Okay, so are Sevilla or Copenhagen going to catch Dortmund in this one?
Nope.
Moving on. This one also done. PSG on 8, Benfica on 8, Juventus 3, Maccabi Haifa also on 3.
I'm going PSG and Benfica.
Yeah, me too. PSG and Benfica. Even if Juventus can catch up, but Benfica are stronger.
Yeah, Juventus have a little bit better chance than Barcelona of going through right now. I got PSG and Benfica.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's it.
Juve and Barca to the Europa League, though.
Juve, Barca to Europa League.
Yeah, we talked about this before. There's a lot. You said
let's see about
Atletico.
Let's see.
Yeah, my goodness.
RB Leipzig could go.
Yeah.
As well.
Liverpool are gonna go.
Dude,
all right, we'll end on that one, folks.
If Liverpool goes, I'll buy a FC Cincinnati shirt.
Let's go.
That's what I would do.
Clip it out.
We got that.
We got him. Contracted in. Okay, folks. We talked about Ronaldo's future. We talked about the English Premier League results. We talked a little La Liga roundup, and we gave you our UCL predictions. Thank you for listening to the Engine Room podcast. We will be back again next week with Pablo, BUGA, and John to talk more all things football. We will see you then. Thank you for listening, everybody.
Take care. Ciao, ciao.